Okay, you're listening to On the Waterfront with Coach. I'm Marina Hernandez, 1377-79, currently in ID. Here with Coach.
My name is Ed Barreras, but better known on the waterfront as Coach. I've been in here since 1982. I got my book, and my work number is 34844.
And this is our podcast that we developed with our brother Buddy, who's now our sound engineer. And it's just to just talk about the history of the port as we see it, our experience firsthand between the two of us. We have about, I don't know, maybe 6 years between us. You've been down there for 43.
43 years, yeah.
And I've been down here for 20. So
Right.
You have quite a bit of experience. So this is just our show. Today we have Yolanda Nuhi on the show, and she is sharing her experience as a working longshoreman and then also as a retiree and what she's doing with the union. So that really great interview.
Awesome interview. I've known Yolanda Nuhi for many, many years. Her sister, her name is Stella, we went to kindergarten together. And I knew Yoli's mom and dad, beautiful people. And Yoli, she was married to Vivas Nuhi, which was a real good friend of mine, passed away a few years ago.
Did you know him from the waterfront?
No, I knew him before the waterfront. Yeah.
You did?
Yes, I knew him before the waterfront. I coached Pop Warner football here in Wilmington, and he was always involved in sports, and everybody knew Vivas because, you know, he was a tough guy. he was a tough guy, real tough, but real gentle guy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Don't rile him up. You know, because he can get pretty mad, but if you know him, he was really, really a nice guy.
Okay, so you've known him since he was a little guy because you said Pop Warner.
When I was coaching Pop Warner, so Vivas is a few years older than me. He was a few years older than me, but when I was about 17, 18 years old, I started coaching Pop Warner football here in Wilmington, and he would be around just, you know, because Sam Phineas and a few of his friends were coaching, and he would come around and you know, just watch us. Because he played football at Banning, too. He was a good football player.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Yoli because her daughter Sarah and I played softball together when we were maybe 8 years old at Wilmington JC's. So I like that about this community that we have. Like, you know, you guys work together on the waterfront, and we were friends then and we're friends now, Sarah and I. And I feel like Yoli was there my whole childhood. You know, we went on trips together. We went to Chicago. We went to Florida. So, you know, she's been a part of my life. She's known me since I was young.
Right. She's always been active when I coached you in softball. She was always active, and it carried over. She was active as a union member. You know, she's involved in the pensioners and a lot of committees and up and down the coast. And she's doing a fabulous job for all of us. It's funny that she was getting paid pretty good money now, and now she's not getting paid, but she's contributing a lot more. She
has the time.
She has the time now, and one of the key things about Yolanda is that once she retired, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. She travels. She has grandkids that she's there with them at all times, and you know, she had a plan. Sometimes people retire and there's no plan, and that, you know, that can lead to, you know, depressions and
Sure.
and you know, but if you have a plan when you're going to retire, then it'll be a lot easier for you.
Yeah, because I can imagine you spend you dedicate a lifetime down on at any job, and then once you're done, then it's like, oh, I have all this free time.
Right.
So knowing what ahead of time what you're going to do with your free time and getting into your passions is definitely a way to go.
Right. So when you listen to Yolanda, you're going to get some good tips and you know, just follow her advice. And one of the good advice she gave us is about the 401k. Now that's very, very important. Right now, the 401k is up and down, but eventually it's going to get back up. It will get back up, and it's a good way to save your money, because before you know it, you're going to reach retirement age. And you got to have a plan.
Yeah. Like I said, I should probably boost mine. I think I'm doing $2 to the Roth and $2 to the 401k.
Right. bump it up. After we get off this, bump it up. There's
I
just
got it on my app.
Right. Once, about 2 months ago, this one guy said, hey, remember that you told me to get in that 401k when I first got in? I said, yeah. He goes, thank you so much. He goes, I've got a lot of money in that 401k. And he goes, if it wasn't for you saying that, I might not have, maybe not, but by you telling me that, it was instrumental for me to say, okay, you know what? This is a no guy. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. So he did it, and he shook my hand and everything. So
oh, that's cool.
Things like that. When guys come up to me or girls come up to me and say, I remember you did this for me or you did that, it really touches me.
Well, you told me a story about one of the guys. I think you gave him a break. Say that story.
Okay, the young man was a casual, and he was a singer, and he was going to go to. He had a gig, would you say, in Arizona. He was going to catch a flight to go, but his casual's number was to get a job. So he went up there and got a job, and he went to the job and says, I put him in a position where it was going to be he was going to stay there till 5:00. Well, he came up to me and goes, hey, this is going on. I go, whoa, okay, stop there. So I switched him where I could get him off at an earlier time when he can catch that flight. He caught the flight, did his gig and everything, and he came back. And do you know that he made the cut out of those hours that he got that day?
Oh,
yeah. And he still talks about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice. You tell me when someone tells you a story. So I know that when they tell you thanks and are appreciative of an advice that you gave them or an action that you did toward them, I can see that it means something to you.
Oh yeah. When you do something for somebody and they come back and tell you, hey, this thing, you know what I always tell them? I go, you pay it back. Now it's your turn to pay
it forward.
Pay it forward now.
Mm-hmm.
Pay it forward. And, a lot of times they'll do that. They'll pay it forward because they remember that little advice.
Yeah. You mentioned that he was a casual. So I'm noticing that we're having a lot more, some casuals that are working a little bit more. I worked at Maersk. There was a couple dock signals on a job that I took at Maersk. I guess the Amen and Beeman don't really like that to take that job for whatever reason.
Right.
So it's right now. So it goes to the casuals a lot. And so you have an opportunity to talk to them. And so it just made me think that now there are more casuals on the waterfront. Fernando my husband may be one soon. Right. So I thought that maybe you would share a little advice because you've been down here so long, you're a foreman. Maybe what's some piece of advice that you could give to someone who's just starting down on the waterfront or that's like on the job practical advice.
Right. And it doesn't have to apply to a casual. It could apply to anybody. And this was told to me long time ago by an old timer. It goes, if you go on a job and you see something that is not right, that looks dangerous and everything, you could say, I want to stand by on health and safety. That's our only avenue that we have. We can stand by on health and safety. But before you try to implement that, what you can do is, my advice is you talk to there's a chain of command. You talk to the foreman. You say, hey, look, this is going on. For example, sometimes the rail, they go home early and they're flying through the yard. They're flying through the yard, going through stop signs. And maybe they might almost hit you. What you should do is call the foreman and say, hey, look, this is going on. Can you solve the problem? Okay? And the problem should be solved right then and there, immediately. Yes. If it's not solved, then you have the right to call the business agent and tell them exactly what's going on. And you can even tell me, look, my name is Ed Barreras, and this is my work number. I'm over here. I spoke with the foreman and told him that we had a problem, and it seems the problem it persists, and it's not getting solved. Can you please come over here and handle it? And then the BA will come and talk to the foreman, and then it will get solved. One way or another, it will get solved. But chain of command, always talk to the foreman before you call the business agent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've been on many jobs where I've had to call, the foreman and let him know what was going on. And it's rare that they would not solve the issue.
A foreman will never deny you on that. If you want to, if you tell him there's a problem, he's got to listen to you. Mm-hmm. He's got to listen to you.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's helpful. And I think we should do that maybe at the beginning of each episode, maybe talk about just one little piece of advice while you're on the waterfront. You're right. It doesn't necessarily have to be for a casual. It's for everybody. This is information and advice for everybody.
For everybody. That's right.
All right. Let's get to the interview. Again, we have Yolanda Nuhi.
Yoli's awesome. You guys are really going to be impressed with Yoli. So, on to Yoli.
Let's go.
Okay, I've got them filling. All right.
My name's Yolanda Nuhi. They called me Yoli, and I was down in the waterfront for 30 years when I retired. I started in 1985. I retired in 2014. So I've been retired for about 10, 11 years, and I love it.
Loving life. Loving life.
Yes, I do.
So how did you get started down at the waterfront, Yoli?
Well, it was funny because my husband had been laid off from his job, so he was getting casual work through the unemployment office. Then when they said they were going to start giving out casual cards, especially to women, a lot of our friends were saying, Yoli, go down there and get it. Go down and get it. And I go, no, I've lived in Wilmington all my life. I know about those longshoremen. I don't want to be down there. So anyways, we both went ahead and we got an application. And at this time, it wasn't for casual. It was straight into an ID. So I was never a casual.
Oh, lucky
So in
you.
1985 is when we were registered. And my registered number is 35701.
Okay. What made you change your mind? You said you knew about what it was like down there. What made you say like, I'm actually gonna do it?
Well, it's funny because at first when they called me, first let's go back a little bit. At first they were denying spouses from coming in. So my husband went ahead, got registered in 85, January of 85, and they held me back. And then they went to court on this and they said, okay, that wasn't fair. You have to let the ladies come in, spouses. So there were about 150. 50 went to marine clerks, and the other 100 went to longshoring. So then at first he said, oh, I don't want you down there. So I said, well, okay, because my marriage was more important. But then guys working with him said, you dummy, let your wife try. If she doesn't like it, she can always get out, but she won't be able to have another chance. So he said, go ahead, and I went ahead and I picked it up, and I'm so thankful,
Wow.
Because later on, I'm going to cry, I'm sorry about that. Mm-hmm. He passed away, and I was able to provide for my family.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first job on the waterfront?
Oh, I think everybody remembers the first job. Scared to death. I had a banana job. And I'd never even been on a ship. I'd never even been down in the hole of a ship. And so I did go down there. And my husband did take a job on that same banana ship, but they separated us. So he went to another hatch and I went to one. But the men there, they really did help me. They were very nice. Some men were nice and some weren't nice. But that was my first job, bananas. And I thought, I did it all the time that it was like, okay, now I'm comfortable with doing this. I don't think I want to move. But then sometimes I'd look across the bay and see these trucks, the UTR trucks driving around. And I thought, no, I think I want to try that. And eventually that's what I did too. But not only did I do the UTRs, I learned how to drive the top handler. And at that time, they didn't have schools for top handlers. It was on-the-job training. My boss at that time, I went to APL all the time, and he said, would you like to learn how to drive a top handler? I said, sure. So he put me with one of the steadies for half a day. The next day, he put me with another steady for half a day. And oh, my God, the third day, he says, you've got it. I go, oh, God, did I pray a lot?
You're like, I do? Are you sure?
But I'm thankful for him. Al Smith was his name at APL, dock work. And from there on, later on, after I did my time on the hole, he did hire me. So then from there, then you learn the side handlers, then you learn the heavy lift machinery, and that's mostly what I did. Yeah.
Okay. When you were in the hold, I'm just going to go back slightly. When you were in hold for the bananas, I just learned, were you part of taking off the hatch? Because I heard it was like a laborious job at that time, right, Dad? You had to take off the boards and stuff?
No. That
was way before?
That was way before. Those are
okay.
when we had to take off the hatch covers.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that was a little bit before you got in, but no. the banana job. You want to explain that too?
Yeah,
Yoli,
the
with
banana,
conveyor belts?
the banana at the time I got into it was in boxes. They were 40-pound boxes of bananas. They weren't the stalks like back in the day. They were boxes. And they had a big conveyor belt that went all the way down to the bottom hatch, which was like 4 decks down. So it went all the way down. It had pockets in them. So as the conveyor belt would go around like that, up and down, we had a person in the front who would throw the box in the pockets so that it goes out. And then in the background, we had other people that were putting them on a conveyor belt that would go down to the guy that would throw them in the box. So that's what we did. And I was comfortable just putting them on the conveyor belt. And then one day the guy said, go to the front. I go, are you sure? So I learned a lot, and I learned quick, You
did all the jobs down there.
Well,
like on that banana boat job?
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. So.
Was Vivas like totally proud of you that first day? Because you got separated, which
Yeah,
he
we
was
did.
probably like, oh my gosh, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, I guess he was okay with it. Yeah, he was okay. That wasn't his specialty either, but he was in the gang later on. So he did gang ship work, and then he did the gang dock work as he got older. It was dock.
Yeah.
And I went on to my specialties. It was the top handlers, side handlers, heavy lifts. I went on to that.
Right. Well, now Yoli's talking about the bananas. They would go. You throw the bananas in a conveyor belt. They call the guy he would toss them there, but then they had gravities. They call them gravities. They're rollers. You see them in the supermarkets now.
Oh, yeah.
You just attach them as you're going deep in the hatch. You just attach them, and then you got 1 or 2, maybe 4 guys in there, and you're feeding them, and then the one guy's feeding the belt, and you take turns. You take turns feeding the belt. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, because you said they're about 40 pounds.
Yeah.
So are you just like lifting and then
Yes.
twisting and putting them in there? Oh, wow.
And then as that conveyor belt's coming down, if you're down in the bottom, you would leave some pockets open, because then the other hatches decks had to put their boxes in there too. So if you miss the pocket, if you're way down in the bottom of the ship, if you miss a pocket, it's okay, because the other decks had to be able to have room to throw theirs in too.
So
yeah.
there, people are working multiple decks at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't picture that.
Yeah, they'll tell you hit every other pocket,
Yeah.
or let 3 go and then hit the pocket. They'll tell you.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's wow.
And then they come off the ship. Yoli, if I can add, they come off the ship, and then you have longshoremen, and they're feeding the teamsters, feeding the trucks. They'd come down there, and then they throw the bananas into the teamsters' trucks. The teamsters would be loading there.
So everything was just
it
just a well-oiled machine down there. Yeah.
Well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then now I just spoke to Becky, your daughter, and she drives tops. So it's like, and does Mahina drive tops as well?
My son does too. Yeah.
They're both. Let me say, they're both good drivers. I remember Becky came to NYK when she first got there. She goes, "Eddie, I'm scared." I go, "Mia, don't be scared. Just relax and take your time." She did a great job. She's really a good one now. And Mahina, he always goes to Hanjin. He's on the rails there. He's steady there. He does a great job too.
Oh, the rails, I would not want to be a top handler on the rails, because it's constant just moving. I'd be like, can I go to the restroom?
Yeah.
Get everybody upset that we have to take a break.
You
but-
taught him well. You and Vivas taught him well.
And then I have another daughter, an older daughter, Inez, and she works down there. She works nights, but she likes the front. She just works the front on a ship that comes in. Yeah, under the crane.
I've worked with her at ITS a few times.
Okay.
I don't think that's her spot where she usually goes, but I've worked with her down there at ITS. She was either dock signal or swing down there. So it's always exciting when, I've known your family for a long time. As I was 12 years old, probably maybe younger, when Sarah and I played softball. So yeah, it's just like when I see Mahina, it just feels like family down there. It's like really exciting to see them.
Yeah.
Okay, so then just going on in your career as a longshoreman, were there jobs that you really like? Was there something else that you really liked when you were in 13?
It was mostly the UTRs and the machineries. Yeah, I knew I didn't have the capabilities of doing the lashing with the bars, And I did take it a few times, and mostly the men would tell me, you know, don't worry about hanging them up, because we never really had training for that at the time I came in. They have now, but not now. So they would tell me, just take the buckles and go put them away. So I did that. But you know what? I was always afraid that I didn't want to hurt anybody. So if that job ever came around to me, I would just pass it. And I think I was fortunate enough that I had my husband, that he could work and I can go home.
Did you work together a lot, you and Beavis?
You know, not really. Maybe after when I became a clerk and then he became a clerk and then I was his boss. He didn't care. He always said, your money's my money and my money's your money.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
How about as a woman? So you said you got it in 1985, and I think, Dad, you said 1977?
75, Billy Padilla got it in
yes.
75 as the first COD, the first woman down there. And then in 78 and 79, I know Nancy Udebach, who we're going to have in the program, she got in at that time. But before then, there was a few other, another one, her name was Elena. And then there was a couple other women that got it, but Billy was the first one.
Stella Subran was one too with Joey.
Yes.
Yeah, they were in there before I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in the first 10 years of a woman being down there. You said some men were not so nice and some were nice. What was your general feeling as a woman down there?
Well, you know what? If I respected the men, they respected me. You know, and if they use a cuss word, they'd say, oh, sorry. And I said, you know what? It's all right. This is your world, really, you know. So, as I found that if I respect them, they respect me. And ask questions. If you didn't ask questions and you did it wrong, oh, God, no, you better ask questions, because then they get mad.
Yeah, I know. I get nervous sometimes when I'm on the radio. I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like just sitting there and like, I got to get on the radio and say something. And you really don't have a choice but to ask. Otherwise, you can miss up production. It could really be a big deal. So you definitely should ask if you have a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't think any guy down there would argue with Yoli once she found out that Beavis was her husband, right?
But you know what? Years went by before finally people put two and two together to know that we were spouses.
Okay.
Because I remember we went into Kmart, the old Kmart one time, and somebody was coming out. We knew, we said hi. And then later on, they're asking somebody, are they a couple? So it took a while for people, because afterwards, I kind of went my way to do my jobs, and he went his way to do his job, you know. And when we went to our meetings, we drove together, but then again, I checked in on myself. He would never check me, and I had to do that myself. So, and I would go with my friends, and he would go with his friends. So it took a while for people to realize, oh, you two are together.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're saying Beavis is pretty tough.
Oh yeah, I've got stories out of Beavis. Well, he was
softball ones, yeah.
Oh yeah. We won't go there. We won't go there. But he was one.
You don't mess. He commanded respect.
Oh, commanded respect for sure.
Yeah.
You know, he was really a gentle guy. You know, but don't rile him up.
No.
So what year did you go to 63?
I think it was 1995, I went to 63.
Oh, okay.
And from there on, you did all the various jobs that you had to do. And then I ended up going steady at one company. And then later on, I became a chief supervisor. So then I was chief supervisor for the gates and the tower over at NYK. I was there for a long time, too.
Can you tell me about that? What's the role of a chief supervisor?
Okay, well, we mostly did the payroll.
Okay.
And if they had any questions about how to do something or what, they would ask me and I would help them with it. But we did, when the truckers would come in for their loads, we would help them up in the tower. We'd be talking to them through speakers. And we asked them, the container number they want and their company. And by the time we printed a ticket out for them and they received it where they were, it would tell them where to go to pick it up.
Okay, and then they pick it. It's parked it's a chassis that's parked in the yard.
Either that or in the trans-container row, it's decked. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One or the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's still that's still the same process now, I think.
I think it is, except that now they've converted it where the trucking companies on their rear view or their side mirrors, they have this RDIF, I think it's called, that it's going, when the trucker passes by a certain thing, it already knows where the container is. And, we fought that for a long time, but somehow we lost that. So now it already they just get the paperwork from the clerks, but it already knows where they're going and all. Yeah.
Automation.
Yeah. Automation.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year when that kind of started?
No, I don't remember. Yeah.
We were talking about that yesterday.
Right.
The automations
change.
things change. Yeah, things change.
Yeah, yeah.
And we think that they're wanting to train longshoremen to be more toward mechanics to work on the machines, which would be great. They're still down there working, but yeah, takes some responsibilities away from longshoremen
it
for
does.
sure.
Yeah. Yoli, did you ever have any ambition to be a foreman or put in an application?
Not
for?
at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Right.
No.
You were just happy.
I was happy where I was.
Well, chief supervisor, that's
Yeah,
big
it's like a boss
responsibility.
too. It's like a boss. Yeah.
Because I did it at Yangming for 10, 12 years, almost 13 years I was a
Okay.
chief there.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you did.
Because you have your chief for the yard, you have your chief planner, you have your chief tower, you know, so there's all different categories of chiefs.
Right. When I got there, I was the first chief at Yangming, and I was in charge of the tower and the yard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I would pass out radios. I'd pass out trucks.
That's a
We
lot.
did everything at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know how we lost it. We lost, they just management does a lot of that stuff that I used to do when I first started there. So we got to try to keep that.
Yeah, we do.
Do you have any other stories of your life on the waterfront before we get into your life as a retiree?
No, I guess not. I kind of told you the equipment I used and worked with. And it was funny because when I was at APL and I was doing the top handler, I had men who would come to me and say, "Can you teach me how to do that?" So I'd say, "Sure. Somebody taught me. Well, you pass it on to somebody else. Sure, come on and I'll show you how to do it."
It's a good longshoreman way.
And that was how we did it before they started having training, for this.
That's incredible that you learned on the job in just
Oh,
3
yeah.
days.
Oh, yeah.
What was it the same type of job that it is now? Like with the 40-foot containers,
Yeah.
like the whole process is.
Yeah, because what we did sometimes we would deliver to the truck drivers. So we would get the container and put it on the truck driver's chassis. Another time it'd be maybe doing empties from the pile that there was in the trans-container rows, but the trans-container rows, they were empty, so they weren't going to move them. So the top handler would move them, or the side handler would move them. Yeah. Oh, I know. I used to have to do, because I was low man on the totem pole of being steady there as a longshoreman. Every time it rained and we had to stack chassis, they always put me on it. And the heavy lift I had no cab. So you really got wet. You had to use your rein. And then when I learned how to drive the top handler, it was Big Red. You sat on the side and you watched your beam going up and down this way. You weren't right on top of it where you could see. We got one of those machines later on, which I thought, wow, look at how easy this one is. I'm right in the middle of it.
Right.
But yeah, when I learned, we were on the side.
Wow, that's funny because sometimes I'm like, ugh, when my UTR doesn't have a heater or an AC, you didn't even have a roof
I didn't
to
have a roof on
cover
my,
you.
no.
Better have good rain gear, right?
Oh,
Yoli?
yeah. That's the number one thing I told my kids. You get good rain gear, and you'll be all right in the rain.
Right.
Yeah.
Luckily, it doesn't rain here as much as up in San Francisco or the northern ports.
And the snow on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it kind of
Right.
made as far as the weather goes
Oh,
down
yeah.
here.
Yoli, so you were a longshoreman for 10 years and then a clerk for the next
20.
20 years.
Uh-huh. I retired with 30 years under my belt. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It is.
Nice.
Yeah, so how was that decision to retire? Because this guy's he's still hanging in there.
I'm still working.
Well,
he's
I
still
tell
working.
people, you know when you're ready to retire. Because I was going to wait until December, the end of the year, and all of a sudden came September, and I said, that's it, I've had it. I'm leaving now. So you know when it's time. You
That's
know
what I
when it's
tell
time. But you
everybody.
have to leave yourself enough time to be able to enjoy your life as a retiree.
Yes.
Yep,
that's the key.
that's it.
So what have you been doing? So we'll get into the pensioners, but what have you been doing since you retired, just for fun or personal?
Well, let's see. I've joined the Sunshine Club that's in Wilmington, out of the VFW Hall in Wilmington. I go to my pension meetings, once a month there at the hall. I bowled, so I was always on the bowling league. So you got to stay busy. You got to stay busy.
And you said you've traveled to, I know that you said you visited your sister.
Yeah, and I traveled a lot. I traveled to Europe. I've traveled to Costa Rica. I've gone to Israel, China, Japan, so you just get in there and start doing.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you go with a group or?
I usually go with a group. I feel safer when I'm with a group and we're with a tour guide. I feel safe like that.
Has it felt safe, all the places that you
Yes.
visited?
Yeah, even Israel, even though I went probably that's probably been 10, 15 years, I was kind of afraid of going to Israel because you hear about the young soldiers that are carrying their guns and all that, but they told us, well, they're there to protect you. Okay. So, but it turned out to be a very nice, very, very nice, I went with a bishop there, so it was really, really a good experience
Nice.
religiously.
Yeah. Oh, you're living your best
Oh,
life.
I am.
What's the Sunshine Club?
Oh, the Sunshine Club is a senior citizen club. We're housed out of the VFW, but we're independent from them. And we meet once a month, and we take local tours, local field trips, if you want to say field trips. And once a year, we'll take a big trip like back east or Nashville, Tennessee, or, something like that. Once a year, a big trip. Otherwise, we're going like museums and casinos and, just to get out and.
Is it all women?
No, it's all mixed, men and women.
Oh, cool.
Majority
Okay.
is probably women,
Are they people that you grew up with? Because you grew up here in Wilmington, didn't you?
I grew up in Wilmington, and there's a lot of people that I know from way back and on the east side of Wilmington, yes. And then every other Tuesday when we don't have a meeting, we meet again at the VFW, and we make blankets for wounded soldiers. It's the tie kind of blankets, you cut your material and then you tie them. And we were sending them over to Germany, to the hospital that they go first to Germany when they're wounded, and then they come to the States. But after COVID, we lost some people because we're doing it with a different, like Torrance, there's a group in Torrance that does it, and we do it, and when COVID hit and we went back, the other groups didn't get back together. We were the only ones. Mm-hmm. So we're still doing them, but we're now giving them to the VA hospitals locally. And they really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
They really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's so nice that you're so involved. Dad, do you think you would join something
I
like
would,
that?
I would do something like
I could
that.
totally see you doing that.
Yes, I would do something like that. It seems like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it is. Just getting together with people, just getting out of the house. Sometimes you don't feel like getting up out of bed and getting ready and go. But if you make yourself, once you're there, you're fine. You're happy. It's exciting.
People out there listening to Yoli, they should use her as an example. Have something planned when you retire, because there's a lot of guys and girls that retire and they don't know what to do with themselves. Yeah. Oh, no. So everybody listening, take it up from Yoli, join a club, and do something.
And you know what? My husband and I, Beavis, we used to bowl all the time. And after he passed away, I continued. But then when I retired, I didn't want to do it at nighttime. So I just went to the bowling alley and told them I want to join a league. And they showed me who to join, and I joined a league. But so you have to be aggressive of what you want to do and go for it.
I feel like that's your personality, Yoli. You just were like, I guess I'll be a longshoreman. I guess I'll join this club. Like, you're just got that.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I'll drive this top handler. I guess I'm going to do that.
I guess I got some bananas.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what else keeps me active right now? My grandkids. They're all athletic.
Super athletes.
Oh, yeah. They go to different schools. I always make sure I'm at their game or what have you. I have wrestlers. I have football players. I have softball players. I have volleyball players. And it's funny because I started off with Banning first. Then I have another grandchild that plays football over in Carson. So they had to get me Carson's shirt. Then some of them graduated, went on to Cerritos College, so football. So then I had to get a Cerritos outfit. Then my great grandkids, I have 2 of them that go to Wilson High School. So they said, well, Grandma, we got to buy you that outfit. So when I'm going somewhere, I tell them, okay, what school am I going to now so that I know which outfit to wear?
Grandkids are the best,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they are.
Yeah, Marina's blessed me with 2,
I know.
boy and girl, and they're both athletic, and
Oh, good.
they keep me going.
Oh, yeah.
I love to go to
Oh,
their
yeah.
games.
Oh, yeah.
Have I missed a game? Maybe once. Huh? No, I want to be there.
I want them to remember me that my grandma was at all my games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my mom says that your children, she got teary-eyed when she told me. She says, your children are the rainbow and your grandchildren are the pot of gold at the end.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so I
That
thought,
is nice.
I don't know where she heard that, but I was like, oh, that's a sweet analogy.
that
She
is
even
nice.
got teary-eyed when she told me. I'm like, Mom, are you
good.
crying?
Oh, yes.
But I
yes,
guess
yes.
you just really feel it when you have your
Oh, yeah.
grandchildren. How funny. I just imagine you have sweaters in the back
Oh,
of your
God.
car and you're just
Which
like,
one?
yeah, which one?
Always chairs. There's always chairs
Oh, yeah.
in the back of my car.
Yeah, I got my dad a rocker chair for
Oh, yeah.
Christmas, so you
Right.
like upgrade.
Right,
Got-
upgrade. Thank
next
you.
is the heater,
Yes.
Dad. Got to get you
Oh, yeah.
a heated vest.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But grandkids are the best. Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
they are.
So tell us about the pensioners. What do you do with the
Okay.
pensioners? What is the pensioners? What's your role? All
Okay.
that.
Our ILWU pensioners locally here, I'm the recording secretary there, and I've been that for maybe 5-6 years. And it's any ILW locals that have retired are welcome. So it could be the office workers, it could be the guards, it could be, whoever is the ILWU, the IMBO voters anyways.
Right.
And anyone who is ILW is welcome to join it. And we meet once a month. It's on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of each month. They provide lunch for us. The Women's Auxiliary will cook lunch, a homemade lunch for us. And it's free. So we go, we eat, and then we have our meeting. And that's the first Wednesday of every month.
So what type of things are discussed?
Well, mostly our president will let us know what's happening in the ports, what's happening with the tariffs, what's happening with what's changing, what's like that. So that's what he kind of does. And then we have Sam Alvarado that comes to our meetings, and he'll let us know any changes or what's happening with our health benefits also. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's very informative.
When you retire, how does the health benefits work after you retire? I know the ILW still has you still have insurance under the ILW,
Yes,
but
you do.
then it goes into Medicare, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Medicare is your number one health benefit.
Okay.
So what Medicare does not pay, then the ILW coastwise will pay. So that's how that works.
Okay. Now, Social Security, when you get Social Security, don't they take Medicare out of that, and then the union reimburses
Yes,
us?
they do. And a lot of how much you pay into your Medicare,
Okay.
what they charge you, let's say, it depends on your income the previous year. That's how the Medicare looks at it. They look at your income taxes, they find out what your income was, and that's how they adjust. So every person can be different
Right.
on how much they take out of you. And that's what the amount that the Longshore will give you back.
Right. Did you know that, Rena?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I just
I
found
feel
that.
like I'm a long way off, so it's like for me, it's not as relevant. But I can see for you that this is
Before you
valuable,
know,
very
before
valuable
you know
information.
That's right.
before you know it, you're going to be retiring. That's why
Yes.
sometimes I tell all these guys, they want all the money. They want the money.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no. Get a better pension. That's what you want to work for. Get a better pension.
Yeah.
So, we make good wages right now. So, I mean, you could sacrifice right now to get paid at the back end.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And not only your 401k, right now I'm with Inez because Inez is 53 years old. And I keep telling her, put more in there and check it out and whatever, because before you know it, she'll be retiring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple dollars. I think I do like $1 or $2. I should definitely increase. I
Yeah.
should definitely increase.
Increase
that.
it. When we get off the podcast, go increase it.
Yeah.
I told this one guy years ago when he first got in, I forgot his name. I said, hey, put some money in the 401k. I just saw him few months ago, he goes, you know what? Thank you for telling me that. He goes, because I got a lot of money in it.
yeah.
I go, well, why don't you give me some of that
Yeah,
money?
right.
But I'm glad that he took my advice,
Yeah.
and I hope that people listening right now feed into
It's
that 401k. It's very important, and
Yes,
Yoli,
it is.
you can.
It's important.
Yes.
So with the pensioners, is it called pensioners or pensioners? I feel like I'm. It does not matter.
Pensioners.
Pensioners. Do you host events too?
Yes, we do. You know what? Our local also, we sponsor, the Labor Day, I think it's sliding. The Labor Day parade. We provide breakfast. And if you've ever been to a Labor Day parade, you'll see there's a lot of locals that come. We're one of the biggest in the West Coast to have a Labor Day parade.
Where's the parade?
Right down, well, it's the breakfasts are always served at the big hall on C Street, the
Okay.
Memorial Hall. And then after that, they go over to, I think it's Broad and, is it D maybe? And that's where the parade starts. Banning's band's there, Carson's band's there, San Pedro's band's there, all these bands are there, and all these very many locals are there with a parade for the parade. So it starts there, it goes all the way down Avalon and turns into M Street. Well, right in front of your dad's house.
It is right
And
in front of the house.
The park is full with people, free food, free entertainment, free, you have to listen to some politicians maybe, but yeah, it's a big parade. Well, like I said, it's one of the biggest in the West Coast.
Right.
okay.
A few
Yeah.
years ago, Jesse Jackson was there. Yeah, they like he said,
Yeah.
a lot of politician guys there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
I don't remember that parade. I know that there's always. I think I know the 4th of
Christmas.
the 4th of July, Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Bloody Thursday.
Right.
And Bloody
Bloody
Thursday. Yeah, for sure.
And then another thing that our local also does is we help out with the Christmas donations for, the children. Thanksgiving, we help sponsor some of that. We sponsor some of the Boys and Girls Clubs too, giving them contributions and all. And we're very active.
How many? About how many? Sorry, Dad. About how many members do you
Oh, gee
think?
whiz, you know what? I'm not sure. I know we have a lot signed up, but not everybody comes to the meetings.
Sure.
Yo, do you guys pay dues? I mean,
Yeah, we do. In fact, it used to be only $20 a year. Well, they brought it up to $40, so now it's $40 a year.
Yeah.
But $40,
Yes.
you get a free homemade lunch every time you go for the meeting. We have in October it's a very good. For all, and we get a lot of the pensioners that come for that. It's our barbecue steak prime rib dinner.
Ooh.
And it's free for all the members and their spouses. And it's held at the Memorial Hall. And there's a lot of people that show up for that. And that's free for them because we put the money in for that.
nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of things for pensioners.
Yeah, that's great. So I haven't been involved, but that's something that I would like to do is be involved more in like the union and that kind of stuff. Were you involved when you were in could I volunteer to set up to are you guys accepting volunteers that are non-retirees?
Oh, yeah. Especially during the Christmas time and during the Thanksgiving giveaway things. Yeah. But yeah, you can volunteer for things. It's funny because I was not involved in anything. My husband was, but I was not involved while I was working. But now I find myself more involved in that. And then I'm part of the Pacific Coast Pensioners Club Association, and that starts all the way from Alaska to Canada, and it takes all the West Coast ports. So I'm recording secretary for that too. It's like the international, only we're called the Pacific
awesome.
Coast Pensioners Association.
That's awesome.
So what do you? Yeah, tell me about that. How is?
Okay.
What do you? What happened? What's that? What's that like? What do you guys discuss? Because that's the whole.
Well,
West Coast.
once a year we have a pensioners convention, and it moves around. One year we had it here in Long Beach. Another time we're going to have one in September in San Francisco. We have it in Vancouver, British Columbia, and Canada. San Francisco, I said that, and one more port it is, Portland. So they sponsor it, and everybody goes there, and it's a 3-day affair. And they talk about pensions, they talk about benefits, and things like that, what's going on throughout the Longshore Division. And they'll take the hosting party will have like a boat ride with a luncheon on the boat ride, cruise around the harbor, or they'll do something for us, and then we'll have a nice dinner dance, and all we ever have to pay is $40 for registration, and that's it. I mean, you can't beat being part of the pensioners.
No.
Yeah, and then our executive board, we meet twice a year. In fact, this weekend, I just came back from San Francisco for our executive board meeting, and that's where we kind of plan again. Each port will tell what's happening in their port, what their manpower is, how many A books, B books, casuals, what's going on with them and what's going on with their pension club there. So it's interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I mean about staying busy.
Right.
Yes, you definitely stay busy.
Right. The union gave you everything. Now it looks like you're paying everything back.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody should, look at that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Longshore was and clerking has been great for you.
Yes.
Now
yes.
you're giving everything back.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Especially after my husband passed away, I was really, really thankful for my job.
Oh, yeah.
That I could continue with the kids and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, were you involved while you were maybe 13?
When I was in 13, I was in the executive board, and I was on the registration committee. Those are the two committees that I was on.
Okay.
I was in there with some big heavyweights. When I got in 1982, we had like Lou Loveridge, Art Almeida, some big heavy hitters,
Yes.
the Salcedo guys.
Yes.
Yoli knows I'm throwing out names.
Yeah.
These
I
guys
do
were
know
real
them.
influential
Yes.
in this union. They were strong guys. They knew Harry Bridges real well.
Oh, yeah.
I tell her all the time that I wish my only regret down here is not meeting Harry Bridges. I could have a couple of times when he was down here, but I just didn't do it.
But we saw him. We heard him speak and all that. Yeah.
Oh, Yoli, I'm envious, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you booing? We heard that some of the
no.
LA Long Beach. I just asked because so we just interviewed Conrad Guzman and
Joe Udevac.
And they were so my dad asked that story about when Harry Bridges came down here. What was the reception like, and was it true that he was booed when they were talking about one of the contracts?
Yeah.
And Conrad said, "Yep, that actually
I don't remember
was true."
Yeah.
So I was just joking when I asked if you were one of the booers. But that's cool that you got to
Yeah.
hear him speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
That's
it
great.
is.
That's great. Yeah. Uncle Harry.
Uncle Harry for sure. All right, Yoli. Well, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Not that I can think of. I think I've talked a lot.
No, you covered all the bases,
Yeah.
and everything you said today is real informative to everybody here. They
Good.
should, get involved with the union.
Yes.
They have to get involved with the union.
Yeah.
Keep this union strong.
Yeah.
And
Because if you talk to a lot of the old timers, they'll tell you there's a big change in the Longshore Division. It just there's a change in the people that are in now compared to what it used to be.
oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
But I feel like getting involved, and people hopefully that are listening or would be influenced to get involved, because that builds ties. You build personal relationships, and then a connection to the union and what you're doing and your job. What if I wanted to volunteer for the Thanksgiving? How do I do I go on ILWpensioners.com? What do I do? Where do I go?
It really we help by donating money, but there is a committee, a Longshore committee, and if you're really interested, I'll find the name out for you that you can call them and say, okay, when are you having it, and when can I come down? Because there's a lot of people that go for that to help.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely interested in that for sure. Especially if it's just an event that I can, because I have kids, so I can't donate too much of my time. But if it was an event that I was help preparing for, I'm definitely into that.
Yeah, I was very proud of my kids and my grandkids, because when they had the fire over in Maui and how they were donating things and loading up containers to send over there, my kids were there helping, which I was very proud of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great. Well, they're Hawaiian. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to include that in the show notes. Maybe you give me a phone number and then I'll include it. That way, if anybody
Okay.
listening is interested,
Yes.
then they'll be able to connect to somebody and what you guys are doing. Maybe we can get some volunteers down there.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Yoli, for
you're
coming and
welcome.
sharing. I really appreciate it. That was kind of you. You did mention that you were a little hesitant just, to come on.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that
Thank you.
that you have, you have respect for us and we have respect for
Right,
you and that you are here
right.
for us. Like, I really feel the love. So thank you.
Yeah, I told my daughter Becky, I said, you know what? Because it's Marina and Eddie, I will go.
Thank
Because
you.
back in the day when the women first came down, newspapers and reporters and everybody wanted to interview them. And I didn't want to be interviewed because they always were, misquoted or somebody didn't like what they said.
They
And,
always twist the story, right.
Yes, so I thought, I don't know, I was a little bit hesitant, but my family said, Mom, it's Marina and Eddie, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go easy on you. Well, I mean, we're just here for some information and to learn about your story because this is something that's recorded on audio, so it'll be here forever for people to know your story of how you got started and your bravery to just join,
Yeah.
just your enthusiasm to say, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me and asking me.
Of course. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great, yo.
This has been On the Waterfront with Coach, hosted by Marina Barreras Hernandez and Edward Barreras, produced by myself, Buddy Barreras, and recorded in collaboration with our amazing sponsor, the Avalon Arts Cultural Alliance, located in the heart of the harbor, Wilmington, California.